Hey everybody, Monica Bodierski here, artist and author of the Shadowland paranormal person here. Happy 2021. You know, I realized recently that we've had a lot of mysterious happenings in our world, things that aren't easily explained. Maybe they've been overshadowed by very real world things like the pandemic. But there's so many mysterious things in our lives that we can't really explain. Some of them fall into the category of who knows. Others are, yeah, that was a haunting, I think. How do we distinguish between those things? And what do we call paranormal? I don't know. That's a very personal kind of a thing. I only know for myself that I've always been intrigued with ghost stories, tales of hauntings, gothic tales, mostly not really about blood and gore, not into glorifying violence, just the spooky, those sounds, those eerie feelings, real suspense. And I've done a lot of investigations in my time. I am a tarot reader. I'm an artist. I'm an author. I am a seer. I call myself a walker between the worlds and a witch. Maybe people don't know, though, that I've lived in haunted places, many. I've investigated haunted places. I've helped people remove certain energies from their homes. And it's always been intriguing, and it still is. I've watched ghost hunters come and go, use equipment, EMF meters. Whew, what don't they use? And a lot of it is very interesting. They've captured spirits on photographs. I caught a few spirits on my iPhone myself. I think these things just, they're not necessarily magical thinking, and they're not necessarily science. It seems like we're trying to bring the two together, especially when it comes to paranormal investigation. We're trying to bring the rational and maybe not the magical, but just the mystery portion of this. I guess my thinking is very rational. It's always been, despite me identifying as the way I do and loving the occult, there's usually a very earthbound and mundane explanation for things. And even if I can't explain it, I often think, well, that's just, something I'm not comprehending. There's probably a rational explanation. But what about those times where you just get that feeling? You get that feeling, and then you see something that doesn't really make sense, or you hear something. Our brain is always trying to make sense of information, but sometimes it's just not happening. And it falls into a category of, Doesn't mean it's frightening necessarily, depending on how many experiences you've had. Goodness knows I've had many, many experiences, some much more frightening than others. When I say I've lived in haunted places, some things were just downright creepy. You get the knocking on the door, as you do, when no one's there, or footfalls in the hallway, and again, no one there, doors slamming when they shouldn't, or things being put in places, and you'll think, well, maybe I just forgot that I put them there. That may happen as well, but those things I think we just tend to say maybe, maybe not. So it seems a lot of people are really getting into this sort of thing and intrigued by it. What about diviners and haunted locations? I've taken my cards many times, and I have a good friend named Tina, who is also taking cards to places and even designing cards to, I guess, figure out who is haunting certain spaces. I've used my cards for that, the cards I've designed, but I've used my other cards, favorite cards I've had, Lenormand and Tarot. I've taken runes, I've taken a pendulum, many things. Not dowsing rods, I haven't tried that. Because I'm already aware that there is a presence, and yes and no answers don't usually do it. And by do it, I mean get to the point of what you're trying to figure out. Medium, If you're a medium and you make direct contact and it's unequivocal, excellent. I can do that, and I have done that, but different circumstances can be tricky for you to sometimes tap into those energies, and I find that some energies are tricky in presenting themselves as who they aren't, but that has never breached my cards for some reason. They are kind of so linked to me that there's a barrier, and I have had some pretty interesting results from that. Let me just give you an example. If you want to try this, if you're wondering if you have some kind of presence around, it may not be a haunting per se. It could just be you're sensing an ancestor's energy, a relative. Maybe you want to know who is there or if someone's there. The difference between an active haunting being or an intelligent, I should say, is one that you're getting answers from, and sort of just the energetic imprint of repetition is not really an intelligent haunting. It is merely that. It's kind of just a loop, a recorded loop that continues. So you can use your cards for either type. Used my cards here. Let me give you an example. So if I shuffle my deck and I'm in a spooky place, yes, check box. And I pull 3 cards because you know I love pulling 3 cards, okay? And I pull 3 cards right off the top. All right, well, that's pretty unequivocal. And by that I mean I pulled the Queen of Cups, the Death card, and the King of Cups. Well, I don't think we need to be writers to put that story together, do we? Looks to me like the Queen of Cups, a creative, mature woman, may be actively haunting this space, who died, and perhaps at the hand of the King of Cups. And because these cards are from the same suit, that would indicate to me that they are a couple for sure. Whether they are male and female or same-sex couple doesn't matter. With my cards, they go beyond gender. The fact that there are 2 and they're from the same suit means they're a couple. So that's pretty straightforward because I received court cards. Okay, let's try that again because you may not always get a court card. And also, I just want to say that it doesn't matter really the sequence. I find often the first card is telling me who's there. It just always seems to work out that way for me. You might have a different way of doing it. I wouldn't necessarily designate 1, 2, and 3 for specific things because it's better to be fluid with that. See how those 3 cards fit in a narrative. It's been easier for me to leave it that way. I think a lot of times the situations are stressful, and you should trust your gut that you can put that together without having specific meanings for those positions, okay? And 3 just seems to work. People, I know we're all sick of 3-card things, but it seems to work. So if I were to flip 3 cards over here, just another 3 cards, I have, oh yes, of course I do. I have the Queen of Wands. I have the 3 of Wands and the High Priestess. So in this case, what would I say? I think I would say, because court cards, more people cards, which is interesting. The Queen of Wands, strong woman, maybe theatrical, fiery, very passionate. This is the fire element. And she's quite tall. Maybe she had a cane, you know, maybe she was a big woman. Sometimes the characteristics of, depending on the deck you're using, and I really would suggest that you use kind of a standard Rider-Waite-Smith or a deck with people, because if you get a deck and it has a butterfly, you're not going to be haunted by a butterfly. Okay, so the 3 of Wands, you know, speaking of, it's an octopus, but at its core, for Rider-Waite-Smith, the 3 of Wands is kind of a long-term thing. Long-term planning, long-term energy. Does that mean she lived to ripe old age, possibly. And the High Priestess is, for some, very much about arcane knowledge, things that you can't see readily, you can't understand clearly, hidden knowledge. For me, it's somebody who's very intuitive, and I do have a witch here. I think if I were intuiting these 3 cards, and you can do this in your own way, of course, I would actually say, I think while she lived to an old age, she probably had a lingering illness. I'm kind of picking that up from the wand and maybe cane-like. So it could have been any long-term kind of an illness that, was she aware of it with this? I think so. I think she was very intuitive, and I think she knew about this. She may have even tried to take natural remedies for this. She may have tried to use intention to heal herself, or someone else may have. Maybe somebody offered her some kind of knowledge about her illness. Okay, so that was kind of interesting, right? And I'm going to say, don't keep peeling off cards. You know I say this all the time. Pretty much every video I say, don't keep flipping cards until you're out, because your story is just going to get really wacky, okay? It just is. You're going to, and then she met, like, no, you don't want to go big drama. This isn't the creative storytelling one, although it seems to fit that category. We're actually trying to do a little investigative work with tarot cards, okay? So I'm going to pull 3 more because it's kind of odd that I keep pulling, although in my world not, but let's see if I can just get a court card for the next 3. No, not really. I'm getting the first card is the Emperor, the second card the Page of Swords, and the third the 9 of Cups. Okay, so I had the Emperor first. So this is about a haunting from an emperor-like figure, likely a male, but again, it can go beyond gender. I see. There's another thing. I have done that many times when I've been investigating, and when I'm relaxed and I'm just chatting, I will say something like that, and it will turn out that the person who's haunted a space or used to live there had orange hair, or was what some people refer to as a ginger, okay? So, and no, he doesn't have orange hair. I was going to say gender. But if you do have a slip of the tongue, pay attention to it. Jot it down, because sometimes our gut will bypass that, and it isn't just a natural, well, it is natural slip, but it could be telling you something. So the Emperor, this is kind of a father figure, male energy, somebody maybe in a position of authority who passed. And I have the Page of Swords. You might think that's contradictory. Doesn't mean there's also a young energy there. Well, it could be. I'll leave that to you. You really got to tap into your gut feeling and go beyond reading with your complete rational thought on your cards if you're going to do this, okay? Because this does use a lot of just use your feels. I'm going to say, because I have the 9 of Cups here, I'm going to say that, here we go, that person died because of a young person drinking and driving. How did I get there? I think you could probably figure that, right? Because this person is elevated, and this is 9 of Cups. I guess I got inebriated, and a young person because of Page, and elevated just gave me kind of high. Go figure, right? Isn't the mind a weird thing sometimes? I've been pretty accurate when I've done that in places, and I don't always do it. Sometimes I check just before I go into a place, and I'll do the reading just close to the premises, where I have my own private space. And what I've jotted down has been verified. So you can try that as well. depending on how comfortable you feel with that, or the spaces that you're investigating. So give it a try. Paranormal investigating with tarot cards, give it a try. It is really interesting. Leave your EMF meter at home. Just give that a shot. Okay, have a good time, stay safe, and till next time, don't forget, leave your comments, subscribe, check out the classes that are being offered. I always forget, or just sort of stick that in at the end. Send me an email. Share your own hauntings or experiences. Maybe you've tried this with other divination methods. Okay, until next week, we'll see you. Mwah!